Alright guys, BLM here, back with a new video. In this video, I'll be talking about the possibility of Survivor third time's the charm, which is a season that I've seen a lot of people bring up. Obviously the second chance sort of season, but for three-time players. And this seems like a great idea. I feel like it's an idea that I even thought was a pretty fun idea until I looked at the board. And I'll be completely honest here that this video actually started off as a casting video, like casting Survivor third time's the charm, but then I realized it's kind of tough to cast. I don't feel like the cast is really there to create a really strong season. I mean, I did put together a cast myself. I mean, there is a cast here of 18 people. I didn't even get 20. But I think looking at this realistically, I feel like we gotta wait a little bit. I think we need to wait until another second chance-esque season, or just another All-Star season, to give us some returnees that didn't win before making a third time's the charm sort of season. And even then, I don't know how likely it is that production would want to do this. Again, it is kind of a niche topic that I don't feel like production would feel too incentivized to actually do. Again, like second chance, like that's like a cool concept. Like people coming back for redemption after failing their previous time. Third time's the charm is just kind of weird. Like people coming back for redemption after failing their last return for redemption. Like it's just, why are we doing that? So I don't feel like production is too incentivized to do an idea like this. Another flaw of this concept is that for an all-star season, you don't want too many people who have played in a season together. But because of the limited amount of seasons with returning players, that means you're going to need at least 3 to 4 people from certain all-star casts, which creates too much intermingling between the casts. This is why I wasn't able to even reach the 20-person mark when trying to create a cast for third time's the charm. But either way, let's start off going through every single player that has played twice in the history of Survivor up to this point, and talking about how likely it is for them to return. And we're going to go through these people in order of their last appearance on Survivor. So let's start off with the people from Survivor All-Stars. So let's go through the people here in the order of their boot, starting off with Rudy Bosch. I mean, rest in peace. But then we got Rob Cesternino, and Rob Cesternino is someone that, again, he's been so flaky on whether he wants to return or not. I think for a third time's the charm season, I think you have to have him back. I think he needs to be on this cast to make this season work. Again, I put him on my cast because you kind of need him to make this a full-fledged cast, but even then, like, again, he's so flaky for returning, I don't think it's even particularly likely. We got Sue Hawk. I mean, come on. We got Lex. Lex is someone that I actually did put on my cast as well. I do think Lex is someone that has been asked back somewhat recently. I'm not super recently, but I mean, as far as back as Blood vs. Water. And he turned it down at that point because he was making that reality show of Big Tom at that point. I wouldn't mind seeing him play again. He's been doing charity events and stuff. I don't think it's super unlikely that he would be willing to return for a season like this, but it's just, like, does production really want Lex back? I don't know, but again, I put him on my cast. Kathy Vavrick O'Brien, I considered. I think the problem with Kathy is that she hasn't really been in the casting mix for so long at this point, and I just don't know if production really has any reason to bring her back. I would love to see it, but again, don't think it's super likely, especially because there's other people in her archetype. Alicia's talked about how she doesn't want to play again, so I don't think her return is particularly likely. Sheehan, I think Sheehan could come back. I think Sheehan, I didn't put her on my cast just due to, again, archetype reasons, but I don't think a Sheehan return is particularly unlikely. I mean, especially for a season like this with this limited of a pool. Sheehan seems like the type of person that would be willing to consider playing Survivor again, so I don't know. Again, like, she's a possibility, but not super likely in my eyes. We got Big Tom. I wouldn't mind seeing Big Tom again. I really had to pick between Big Tom and Lex. I felt like Lex was a more likely returnee, but I wouldn't mind seeing Big Tom play again. And he talked about this on his recent RHAP interview, how he was willing to play again. Like, he seems like he would play again if they asked him. He just doesn't think that they'll ask him, so I don't know. Jenna Lewis, I would love to see Jenna Lewis play again. I put her on my cast. I think she's someone that, again, is willing to play again. She wants to play again. I don't see any reason to not bring her back. Outside of, again, she hasn't really been in the casting pool for a while. Now, we have one lonely returnee that's eligible here from Survivor Guatemala, and that's Bobby John. And I actually liked Bobby John on his season. I thought he was a fun character. Does he make the cut for a season like this? Probably not. I don't think he is someone that production has any interest in really bringing back. But yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a return from Bobby John. But again, not super likely. Now we got Survivor Micronesia, which again, this is crazy that there's only 4 people eligible here from Survivor Micronesia. It's crazy that 6 out of the favorites tribe there have played again. Mind you, 4 of those being in Heroes vs. Villains. But either way, we got Johnny Fairplay. I mean, Johnny Fairplay should be a lock for a cast like this. I think the problem is that he's obviously ruined his relationship with production. I think Jeff Probst particularly doesn't like him. I just don't see it being very likely at this point. Yao Man does not seem to want to play again. From last I heard, he's pretty much turned down every opportunity he's been given, so I don't think he's likely. Amy Cusick is someone I did put on my cast. I think Amy Cusick's someone I could see being willing to play again. I think it'll be really fun to play again. I just don't, again, the problem here is that she hasn't been asked in a while. So I could see production not really being that incentivized to bring her back. Next up, we got Eliza. And Eliza is someone that I would really like to see back. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that production wouldn't mind seeing her back. Amy Cusick already on my cast. I didn't put her on my cast, but again, Liza returning, I don't think it's super unlikely. Now for Heroes vs. Villains, where again, there's only 4 people eligible here, as a lot of them have returned already. And the first one, we got Sugar. No way they are ever putting Sugar on a cast ever again. Now we got Randy. I think Randy's kind of ruined his relationship with production at this point. And then also, I just don't feel like production's too incentivized to bring him back. I don't think he's super likely. Courtney Yates, I put her on my cast. Again, Courtney is another weird one where it's like, I don't know how likely production is willing to bring her back, and also I don't know if Courtney even really wants to play again. But again, for a third time's the charm season like this, I think she's one of the better options on the board. She's a great character, obviously made it to the very end her first season. I think she makes the cut here. And the same thing with Danielle DiLorenzo. I think she's someone that supposedly was in the running for Edge of Extinction for some reason. And for a third time's the charm, I think that pretty much makes it so she's pretty much a lock on the cast. Now from Survivor Philippines. All right, we got Russell Swan. I like Russell Swan. I think it would be actually fascinating to see him play again. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think production has any incentive to bring him back. I think Russell Swan himself is probably not super apt to play again, considering what happened the last 2 times he's played, so not going to happen. Michael Skupin, I mean, come on. Not even going to bother talking about him. Now moving on to Survivor Care Moen, starting with Francesca. Francesca does not want to play again. I don't see it ever happening. Brandon Hance, come on. Corinne, I think Corinne is kind of in a weird spot. I mean, she was obviously on The Amazing Race, but from what I've heard, production isn't super happy with things that she said, but who knows? They could consider her. I don't even know how likely it is that Corinne wants to play again either, though, so it's like, I don't know. I left her off my cast because of that. Next up, we got Philip Shepard, and I kind of put him on my cast just because I kind of had to. Again, it was kind of tough to balance everything out here, and I felt like Philip Shepard, at least I could see production wanting to bring him back. I don't know if Philip wants to play again. That's something I'm a bit unsure about, but again, this was a tough group to get together, and I felt like Philip was the best option out of the ones that I had, so he made the cut. We got Brenda. I'm not sure where Brenda is in terms of wanting to play Survivor again. I don't know if she wants to or not. I just left her off my cast because of that. But again, if she were to return for a future season, cool, whatever. We got Eric Reichenbach. I think Aaron Reichenbach is kind of a lock for this season. I think you kind of have to have him back. Again, he's within the criteria. He's someone that production seems to like, at least to the point where they keep on mentioning his blind side. So I don't know. I think you got to bring Eric back. Then we got Dawn. I consider Dawn. I think the problem with her is I don't think she had a great experience the last time she played. And also, I just feel like there's other people in a similar archetype to her. So I left her off, but I wouldn't be upset to see her play again. Now for Blood vs. Water, we got Colton. I mean, come on, Colton's not playing again. Now for Kat, I don't think they want to see Kat play again. I'll be very surprised if she were to ever play Survivor again. I think the main reason she was back for Blood vs. Water was mainly due to her relationships with her loved ones, where she was originally going to be on with her cousin Robbie. I think that would have been interesting. But then she was on with Hayden. Again, I don't think she would have been on if it was just herself. So I don't think she's going to come back for a third time. Laura Moret, kind of a similar thing. I think a lot of the reason why Laura Moret was brought back was because of Sierra. I don't think they were really too incentivized to bring her back on her own, especially because there's another person that we'll be talking about very soon that I think is in her same archetype, but also just a better version of her in terms of bringing her back as a returnee. So I didn't bring Laura Moret back. But then we got Jervis. I put Jervis on my cast, and Jervis is someone that's obviously from the first season. I think he's a fun character. I think there's enough there to bring him back another time. I don't know how incentivized production is to bring him back for a third time. I would personally enjoy seeing it. After that, we got Monica Culpepper, and I put Monica on my cast, and again, this is what I was talking about. I think Monica Culpepper is a more likely returnee than Laura Moret. Monica Culpepper was in the running for Game Changers. I wouldn't be surprised if they would want to bring her back with her husband, which we'll talk about a bit later. So I think for a season like this, I think she's a very likely returnee. She made my cut. Now we're moving on to Second Chance. And from Second Chance, we have actually a good amount of people. Actually, again, Second Chance and Game Changers makes up a good chunk of this contenders list here. And that's actually what made this cast very tough is, again, a lot of the contenders came from just these 2 seasons. They don't want more than 4 people per cast on an All-Star cast, at least with more modern All-Star cast. Again, the original All-Stars was the exception. So having only 4 people from these casts made this a pretty tough cast to put together, because I do think there are people that didn't make the cut here that are more likely to return than some other people from other seasons. But due to that limitation, it made it a lot more difficult. But from Second Chance here, we have actually a lot of people that could be in consideration here. So let's start off with Vetus. Vetus is never playing again. Again, he left Ponderosa early, pissed off production, wasn't at the reunion. They don't want to see him again. Shireen, I don't know. I don't know how she is with production right now. If I were to guess, I would say that we're never going to see Shireen again, but I wouldn't consider that like an absolute guarantee. Peih-Gee, I put Peih-Gee on my cast. I would love to see Peih-Gee back, and mind you, I put someone else on the cast that I think has a fun storyline with Peih-Gee for a returning season. But I think Peih-Gee is someone that, despite her going out early in Second Chance, I think she's someone that's still within the Survivor community. I think she's someone that I could see them asking back for a season like this. Again, for any other season, probably not. But for this specific season, with this limited of a casting pool, I think she would be in consideration. Next up, we got Monica Padilla. I don't think Monica Padilla is coming back. I don't think they really have much of a reason to bring her back at this point. Terry Dietz. I think Terry Dietz is a lock. I think it's tough to not bring back Terry Dietz with the story that he has. But then again, they didn't bring him back for Game Changers. So who knows? But I would like to see Terry Dietz back. He definitely made my cut. Now, this might be a bit of a controversial pick here, but I did also put Wu on my cast. I think Wu is someone that, while he wasn't the biggest gamer or anything, I think production really liked him as a character. He's someone that I wouldn't be surprised to see him willing to play Survivor again. So he made my cut. And again, a lot of this has to do with certain other people not wanting to play again, but still, I put him on my cast. Next up, we got Cass. From what I understand, Cass does not want to play Survivor again. So because of that, she didn't end up making my cut. But if she wanted to play Survivor again, I think she obviously makes this cast over someone like a Peih-Gee. We got Andrew Savage. Again, for me, it's Andrew Savage or Terry Dietz. I went with Terry Dietz. For all I know, production would pick Andrew Savage. So, I don't know, but I didn't pick him personally. But I wouldn't be that surprised if he was at least asked for a season like this. We got Kelly Wigglesworth. I don't think production wants to see her again, right? I mean, like, obviously, the appeal of Second Chance was that she hasn't played since the first season. She had this storyline, like, obviously, she was the runner-up on the first season. For her to come back again was a big thing, but it's like, she did nothing on Second Chance. So I don't think production would really need to bring her back here. We then got Stephen Fishback. Stephen Fishback, from what I understand, does not want to play Survivor again. So again, I had to cut him because of that. I think if he did want to play Survivor again, I think he easily makes this cut over someone like Wu, but he doesn't, so didn't put him on. Next up, we got Abi-Maria. Abi-Maria, I put on my cast. I would love to see Abi-Maria play again. Again, a lot of the reason why I put Peih-Gee on this cast is because I think her dynamic with Abi-Maria would be a lot of fun to see on Survivor again. And for me, Abi-Maria was one of the bigger locks on the board. Next up, we got Kimmy Kappenberg. I don't think it's super likely. I don't think production is super incentivized to bring her back, but I personally wouldn't mind seeing her back. I think she showed that she was a capable player on Second Chance. But again, I think the appeal of her returning is kind of gone after having come back for Second Chance, so I don't know if production would really consider her, but it would be interesting. Next up, we got Keith Nail, and Keith Nail was one that, again, it was Keith Nail or Wu for me, and I went with Wu just as I feel like he's a different sort of archetype than Keith Nail, where we already have some, like, older guys. I wouldn't mind a Keith Nail returning, and Keith Nail's a great character. Not a good player, obviously, but fun character, but again, didn't make the cut here for me, but again, wouldn't be surprised if he did get asked back. Got Tasha. I think Survivor's kind of done with Tasha, if I were to guess. I mean, she seems like one of those players that played her first time, was well-liked, came back the second time, wasn't liked, and now production doesn't really want to see them back. That's kind of my guess. I wouldn't be upset at a Tasha return. I just don't see it as being particularly likely. And the final person here from Cambodia, we have Spencer Bledsoe. And Spencer, I think, is a lock if he wanted to come back. I don't think he wants to come back. So I think because of that, he doesn't make the cut. He obviously would make the cut over Wu, over Terry, over almost anyone on this cast. Like, I think he is one of the biggest locks on the board if he wants to come back. I just do not think that's the case. Now moving on to Game Changers. And we're starting it off here with Caleb Reynolds. I think Caleb is done. No reason to bring Caleb back. I think they got what they wanted in Game Changers, where they wanted to see him actually play the game. He got taken out early anyway. I don't see them wanting him back again. Next up, we got Haley Ford. I think Haley Ford's return isn't that unlikely, if I'm being honest. I mean, production seems to have this weird love for Haley Ford, Jeff Probst in particular. And because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if Haley does return. But I didn't put her on my cast. But again, if she were to return, it wouldn't be that shocking. And the person I did put on my cast over Haley Ford was Debbie Wanner. I think Debbie is a massive character, really fun character. Someone that I wouldn't be surprised to see be willing to play Survivor again. Someone I wouldn't be surprised to see production ask back again. But again, like if they were to put Haley over Debbie, cool. I wouldn't be that upset at it. But for me, I did put Debbie on the cast as I think she's a bigger character. Next up, we got Zeke. I don't think Zeke wants to play again. There's been no indication that Zeke has wanted to play again. Every single time he's asked, he talks about how he's done. I don't think he would play again, though. Again, if he wanted to, I think he's a lock. Next up, we got Sierra Dawn Thomas. I think Sierra is kind of one of those, like, I could see her being like an alternate for a season like this, like she was for Game Changers. Again, she's someone that production seems to be okay with, but not like super in love with. So she's kind of like that sort of replacement sort of all-star candidate for like any season, I feel like. And again, she didn't make my cut, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were willing to bring her back again. Next up, we got Michaela. And Michaela is someone I put on my cast. I think Michaela is a very likely returnee for a season like this. Again, such a limited field. I think she's a fun character, someone that production very clearly liked. At least after Millennials vs. Gen X, I think they were fine with her after Game Changers. I think she probably makes the cut. Next up, got Tai Trang. And Tai Trang, I've said this in many casting videos already. I think he's a big lock for a returnee season at some point. Production just really seems to like him. He's really liked by casuals. I think he's almost a guarantee. Next up, we got Troyzan. And it's kind of weird how after One World, he was a massive lock to return at some point. But now, after Game Changers, I just don't think production has any incentive to bring him back. I mean, while I don't think his Game Changers game is as bad as many people say, he was definitely a very passive player. And I don't feel like production's very willing to bring back passive players. So I don't think Troyzan is a big candidate for this season, especially when we have the next person we're going to be talking about that is a bigger lock on the board, and that is Brad Culpepper. And Brad Culpepper is the last person that made my cut. I mean, there's only one more person after this, so whatever. But Brad Culpepper, I think he's a lock for a season like this. I mean, I've gotten mixed signals on whether he wants to come back or not, but I think more than likely he would come back. There were rumors that he did get the call for 40 before it was changed into all winners, and I wouldn't be surprised if he were to come back, especially with Monica. Again, I put both of them on this cast. I think that's a fun dynamic to put on this season, both husband and wife on a non-blood versus water season like we saw with Rob and Amber on Winners at War. I think it'll be interesting to see that on Third Time's the Charm. I put Brad Culpepper on my cast. Now, last person we're going to be talking about is from Edge of Extinction, and that is David Wright. David Wright, I think, is a lock if he wasn't working for CBS right now. I mean, I think the fact that he's obviously working on Star Trek is pretty much the deal breaker. I don't know if he can play Survivor ever again, but I definitely don't think he's going to be playing Survivor anytime soon. Again, if he wasn't in there, I think there's an easy spot for him. I mean, very easy spot considering he's also the only person from his season that can return. I don't think it's super likely, so I didn't put him on my cast. So that is every single two-time player up to this point in Survivor, and talking about how likely it is that they would return for a Third Time's the Charm season. Again, I made my own cast, so let's go through that. On my own cast, I did put Jenna Lewis, Lex Vanderberg, Rob Cesternino, Amy Cusick, Daniel DeLorenzo, Courtney Yates, Eric Reichenbach, Philip Shepard, Monica Culpepper, Jervis Peterson, Abi-Maria Gomez, Wu Wang, Terry Dietz, Peih-Gee Law, Brad Culpepper, Tai Trang, Michaela Bradshaw, and Debbie Wanner. Again, an okay cast, but for me, again, there's just so many unknowns even within this cast that I put together that I don't think a Third Time's the Charm season is super likely right now. And even in the future, I just don't think production is too incentivized to put a season like this together when they can put together really just any other All-Stars season. For me, I feel like unless it's all winners, unless it's second chance, I don't feel like they're super into preset themes before casting an all-star season. I think the way that they like to do it is create an all-star cast first and then create a theme after that, like they did with Game Changers and like they did with Heroes vs. Villains. I don't think they like to be confined to such a limited casting pool, and that's what Third Time's the Charm does. Those are my opinions on the possibility of Survivor Third Time's the Charm. Thank you for watching.